Hello and welcome to the Candidate Interview Series. My name is Robin Swan and I'm the Director of Government Affairs for the Winter Park Chamber of Commerce. This series allows us to hear from the candidates participating in our virtual political mingle, a forum held on July 29th where you, our guests, may learn more about the candidates and vote in our straw poll. Today we are pleased to welcome Ryan Williams. Ryan is a candidate for State Attorney for the 9th Judicial Circuit. Ryan, hello, good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Robin. Thank you for having me.
So Ryan, I'm going to ask you three questions. They are the same three questions each of the candidates have answered. The first is, what is your primary motivation for running for this position?
Well, I want justice for victims and the accused in our criminal justice system, and I don't think that's happening right now in the 9th Judicial Circuit. I've been a prosecutor for all my career, working homicide cases and more specifically, capital homicides almost exclusively for the last 5 years. And I worked in sex crimes and child abuse for nearly 3 years before that. So nearly every day for the last decade, I've spoken to and literally held the hand of victims and survivors of homicide who had horrible things happen to them. And this experience has taught me how important it is that our system of justice works every time. Every victim deserves a caring prosecutor who will do his or her best to make them whole and allow them to start to move on with their lives. And I don't believe that's happening under the office's current leadership. I also believe that we have to get it right and apply the law equally. The state attorney's office has to safeguard the rights of the accused and make sure our system is fair to everyone of all backgrounds, creeds, and colors. And I believe our system of government depends on our laws and the people enforcing them having credibility. And that is under attack right now because of failures in this circuit that are further eroding people's faith in our system. So when you believe in these principles the way that I do, and you see that those leading the office are largely responsible for some of those failures to victims and the accused, you have to make a choice. Do I go along and gripe about it, or do I take responsibility and try to make a change? And I couldn't look my colleagues and neighbors and my kids in the eye knowing that I could try to make a difference, but took the path of least resistance. So I know I'm ready to lead the office through this difficult time, and that's why I decided to run.
Okay, and your second question is, how are you uniquely qualified to run for this position?
I have the unique combination of experience, principle, and passion for this job to serve as the state attorney. So I think you have to have served as a prosecutor to effectively lead an office of prosecutors, whose primary task is the prosecution of cases. I've tried more criminal cases than any other candidate in the race, more than 160 jury trials to date. So, and I would be the most experienced capital prosecutor in the office if elected. And I think even my critics would acknowledge that I'm one of the best trial lawyers in Central Florida. So I've also held management positions within the office, working as a bureau chief in charge of nearly 50 lawyers and staff, where I successfully overhauled the way the office receives and charges cases. I also have demonstrated principle and adherence to principles, even when it was uncomfortable and not necessarily in my personal interest. So when the current state attorney announced that she would use her discretion and not seek the death penalty under Florida law, I believe that violated our oath as prosecutors, and I didn't think I could be associated with that or abandon the survivors of some horrible crimes. So I left when others stayed, despite having worked in the office all of my professional life and despite having friends and colleagues and an uncertain professional future in the office. It turns out that the Florida Supreme Court agreed with me, but even if they hadn't, I did what I thought was right, and I think that's important because of the difficult and sometimes unpopular decisions that the elected state attorney has to make. And finally, I'm passionate about this job and the mission of fair and ethical prosecution. It's the only job I've ever done, and it's the job, Lord willing, that I always will do. I'm not going to run for another public office or try to become a judge. When this election is over, I will still be a prosecutor. I hope it's as the lead prosecutor in the Ninth Circuit, but if I'm not successful, I'll prosecute crimes in another office. This work is hard, and I think you have to be passionate and dedicated to do it well. And I believe that my past and future demonstrate that passion.
All right, and our final question, if elected, how do you hope to positively affect the position and the constituency who you will serve?
Well, I plan to have that positive effect by leading through example. So, what I've learned in my life and career is that leadership does matter. I think our country is learning that on a daily basis as we confront this pandemic. You know, you can have dozens of, or even hundreds of dedicated, hardworking people who are talented and able, but if they don't have someone to steer their abilities and help them get the best from themselves to move them in a common direction, they're never going to achieve what they're capable of. So my experience is that the best leaders get buy-in from the people they work with by showing them the way themselves, by demonstrating that they're willing to do what they are asking others to do. I think I've spent a career and a good portion of every day seeking justice for victims and the accused and trying to make our community safer. And I'm confident that the example I would lead, that I would set, would lead prosecutors and staff of the state attorney's office to do the same for our community. And I'm really looking forward to getting started.
Well, great. Ryan, again, thank you very much for joining us and for answering these questions. And we look forward to seeing you on July 29th.
Thank you, Ms. Swan. I appreciate the time.
And to our viewers, again, that's the virtual political mingle on Wednesday, July 29th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our political mingle sponsors, our presenting sponsor, Charter Communications, and our supporting sponsor, the University of Central Florida. Guests may join us by registering online on our website at winterpark.org. And we thank you again for joining us. See you July 29th.